Hello, I'm Ward Bell of IdeaBlade with another in a series of videos about the TempHire cocktail reference application. My good friend and colleague Marcel Good is the chief architect and principal maintainer of Cocktail, an open source framework for end-to-end development of XAML-based business applications. Marcel gave me a guided tour of the TempHire application, and this series is the result. This is the first of several videos that explore the main project within the TempHire application, the project whose name is also TempHire. It's called TempHire.sl in the Silverlight version. Marcel begins where every WPF application must begin, with App.xaml. App.xaml delegates to a Bootstrapper, which sets up the application environment before displaying the shell. The shell is the main topic of the next video, but before going there, we check out the views and their view models. Here is Marcel to tell us about it.
So at this point, we're going to look at the main project in the TempHire solution, which is the actual executable that where most of the action happens. When you hit F5, that's the executable that starts up. That's where your UI is, and that's probably where the most interesting parts of TempHire is. So it's the startup project in our solution, and let's start digging into this and look at how it's built from the top to bottom and how this works.
Well, every app starts with App.xaml.
Every app starts with App.xaml, that's correct.
Except that's app.wpf XAML. Why is that?
That's also correct. So as you remember, we have a Silverlight solution and we have a WPF solution. Large parts of the code base are actually the same. One of the benefits of Cocktail, it abstracts a lot of the platform differences. But there are a few differences in the way WPF works and the way Silverlight works, and we'll see this in the views later on as well. And there's a difference in the App.xaml in WPF versus Silverlight. If we open this up,
Right, the whole initialization sequence is
the
different.
whole initialization sequence is different. The particular difference here in if you pull in static resources in an App.xaml in WPF, you have to wrap it all in a resource dictionary.
Which is what you're doing right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a resource dictionary that pulls a few things in. The most important one is the first one is the app Bootstrapper.
So that's an object that it's going to initialize.
That's
and in
correct.
so doing,
it will bootstrap Cocktail and your application, and it will start running, and eventually it will throw your main root model on the screen so the user can start initiating with the application. It triggers your startup sequence of the application.
that sounds like a good place to go.
It does, yeah. Just quickly want to show that there is a code behind. Every App.xaml has a code behind, but there's really nothing in here. We do need the initialize component, otherwise nothing is going to happen.
Right. We'll see that you don't need this code behind in our views later, but we do need it in app.
Yes,
App.xaml.
that's correct. If you do start with a new app, you get a bunch of stuff in here that the Visual Studio templates throw in. You can pretty much get rid of that.
That's what it should look like.
That's what it should look like.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's a Caliber and Micro thing.
yes, yeah. So the Bootstrapper looks like this. There's actually very little in here. There's a lot that Cocktail provides out of the box, and we're going to look at this a little later. We have a Bootstrapper base that's in the common project, which does some common functionality on top of what Cocktail provides. It's a good start for your own Bootstrapper.
So I might use this one in my app.
Yes.
But I'd probably I might have a shell and a shell view model, in which case that pass the shell view model just like this.
So the key thing is here that the Bootstrapper is a generic class, and the T that you give it is the view model that is your main window.
Got it.
In case of WPF.
Yep.
Right. The only other part in here is you notice we have some conditional compiler statements here. There are different build configurations that you can choose from. One is the fake store, if you want to run the application against the fake store. There is a demo build, which is a special version of the fake store that's actually primarily for us to host the Silverlight version of TempHire on our web and have separate fake stores. But the key piece here is if you do want to run with the fake store, you need to initialize the fake store, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah, and that's what we do here in the Bootstrapper. We're actually doing it asynchronously, so there's a start runtime async method that you get from Cocktail. It is a code routine, and there you can asynchronously initialize the fake store.
Very good.
So from here, let's close everything. Once the application has done its bootstrapping, the last thing it needs to do is to bring up your main window. You want to see something, obviously, right? The user needs to start interacting.
And this is MVVM, so I've got a
This
parallel.
is MVVM, so
parallels
we'll
between-
have parallels between view models and views. So we see the structure of the directories, they follow each other, right? So we'll see a shell view model up there, we have a shell view below. And here again, you notice that the shell view actually has WPF in the name, whereas the view just above it doesn't.
Right.
So again, there are some differences at the view level. Primarily, WPF has controls out of the box that Silverlight doesn't. Right. With Silverlight, you often have to pull them in with the toolkit. So there's differences at the control level, and that's really where the main differences are between the Silverlight version of TempHire and the WPF version of TempHire. The same view models drive the views in both cases, but some of the views have to be different between WPF and Silverlight.
In the next TempHire project video, Marcel talks about the application shell, the visual frame for the multiple modules and screens that appear and disappear as the user clicks buttons on the toolbar. You'll find the shell video, other videos in the TempHire series, and much more at cocktail.ideablade.com.